You're listening to a Came from the Radio and First Date Film or Airwaves Film. Screw it up. I can't say effed up my radio setup, so I'm coming at you with no professional audio. And I'm here with Sky Island Storytelling, Jeremy Norrie. Who am I? You know who I am. You listen to the show, just in case you don't. It's Jennifer Elise Feldman or El Man or Dr. Feldy or Susie Lucy or Grandma Lucille, whatever. We got a long list. Who cares? This is about Jeremy Norrie today. Enough about me. Welcome to It Came from the Radio, Sky Island Storytelling, Jeremy Norrie. Hello, what's good?
Thank you for having me. Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah, yeah. I had to, get some things out. All right, so we're gonna go right into it. So number one was listening to one of his interviews, and not that I get bored easily, my mom gets bored easily, so I've learned to be interesting because when you have a 2.5 attention span as a mother to hit that, I've learned that very well. But Uh, whether you're bored easily or not, the interview with Lost in the Groove, very fascinating. And you said that you were in the cannabis business, but then you swiftly shifted to filmmaking. So, first question, what happened? What, if you can share without outing yourself,
Oh,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
spent a long time in the cannabis industry. It was a wild journey. I have a film about that and I have a book about that. The film is like about the good times. The book is
Ah,
about scary times. And the scary times I got home invaded numerous
whoa.
times. I've been robbed. It was a lot of bad stuff. And then as I got kind of deeper in the industry, I was throwing events and I did many things, but kind of near the end, I was producing these events and they were very special. And I realized they needed to be documented. And so we hired a team of filmmakers, or, they were uh, videographers. They didn't make films. And
Hmm.
so we learned together through the process of kind of documenting that thing. And it was a long, long journey of many promises that didn't end up being true in the end from people
Yeah,
that had this connection or that connection. And
gotta get it in writing. Gotta get it in writing. And even then, and those people really suck if you put it in writing and they fail. Oh, anyway, sorry, continue.
oh, but ultimately, I was just I persevered and I was resilient with all of that kind of stuff. We took the thing that we made and eventually we kind of remade it into the film that exists now. And
And
even the other film is still on YouTube. Say again?
what's the name of that film about
That
this?
film is called The Secret Cup.
The Secret Cut. All right, I gotta watch that. There was
Secret
also
Cup.
420 Nurses, but that caught my attention first. He made a film called 420 Nurses. If you look at his IMDb, people, dude, I have no time. I'm in five movies that I haven't even watched my own films. I have a long list now, even longer list because I got to see 420 Nurses and like 15 other films you made. Wow. Okay. And last question on this cannabis before I switch. What year was this that home invasions happened? What year?
Those were like the 2000s, like say before 2012, but
Uh-huh.
after 2002. And it happened like multiple years apart. So the first one
Um,
was probably closer to like 2004, somewhere in that, maybe
wow.
2002 area. And
Yeah.
then the last one was like maybe 2010, somewhere in that area.
Wow. And super scary, I imagine,
Oh
right?
yeah, I was held at gunpoint by people in my house. It's not a fun experience.
Wow. Yeah, you were in the biz at the time. I was very quickly in the biz before it was legal. Now it's like, oh, well, Aunt Sandy living down the street and her grandma are doing it. But I can relate because 2000, I think it was 2003 and four, maybe even five. I actually grew pot with a hydroponic system right next to Homeland Security. I could see Homeland Security outside my window, and I would close the blinds. And every time a fire truck would come up, I was in college. So I was in college. I was 18, 19 years old. My boyfriend had a best friend who was a bit of a genius only child, like myself, in Towson University, came by, hydroponic system. We'd open the closet. There was lights. It was a farce. And guess what? I had a roommate, Rebecca. I'm not going to say her last name. I don't even think she knew this was going on in my closet. And neither did Homeland Security because I got locked out of my car and I was talking to one of the police officers. Now, I used to be really blonde and much younger looking. I'm 40. So imagine 20 years ago how young I looked. people tell me all their secrets when you think you're 12 years old. And this guy was telling me, oh, I work in Homeland Security. I take my binoculars and look in the building. And it's like, good thing I closed my blinds. I knew to be paranoid. Sometimes it's not paranoia, it's called intelligence. Next question, back to you. So you kind of already started answering this because, who's going to make a documentary on your life, which is clearly very interesting already. We barely know each other better than you. You got to DIY, do it yourself because you can't trust these videographers. You can't trust anyone. You can't trust Dr. Fauci. Why do you make films? Is it because did this get it started? Like, why make films and why continue to make films? It's a
It
lot
is
of investment.
it is kind of partly that. Um, the
Hmm.
process of making this film, I learned kind of what it would take to do documentary films, and the opportunity at first became to make something right from the beginning rather than fix the thing that I was already working on. And so we started right away with a couple films before I even was able to finish the Secret Cup film. And so I have a couple cannabis related topics that were about cannabis and cancer and cannabis and medical use of the plant. And that was like
Oh,
a passionate thing to me. I thought, oh, this might be something that's financially profitable. It could be interesting if some of these people that I've met through the years just disclose exactly how you're supposed to use cannabis to treat these various things. They always tell you that it can be helpful, but they don't tell you how to do it. And so that's what we did. And we made these films and they were moderately popular. But my co-producer, Jason, he lived and taught me everything that I know, basically. And now he lives in Georgia. But at the
hmm.
time we were together and he mentioned to me, he's like, we could do other subjects. We don't have to just do cannabis stuff because you have such a deep history in that. We could do other things. These are some of the other topics that are popular. And he mentioned like UFOs and strange ghosts and things. And I said, is Bigfoot popular? And he said, we could do Bigfoot. And so the third movie I ever made was about Bigfoot, and it was virally popular. So that is
Yes.
kind of what springboarded me into being able to make films. And from that point, we kind of learned, oh, we can kind of do this. We just have to find the connection. So I'm
Okay.
interested in all kinds of things, from being a pothead selling weed at my house. I've watched every Bigfoot thing, every UFO thing, all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm interested in lots of things. Now I get to kind of explore those topics because I'm a filmmaker and I can kind of give people the opportunity to get exposure for whatever it is, their story, their platform. And I
Hmm.
love it. And it's an education for me as well.
Yeah, that's a big reason why I still do these interviews, even though I have negative time left. I told someone from the cast of Seinfeld that you have to wait like months because I'm busy and like I've got these marriage proposals. Like it's nice, it's great, awesome. I love a driver. I'd love a DD, aka a husband, but I don't have time. Okay. Quick question before I switch. One, what's the name of this Bigfoot film for my listeners? Myself.
The very first one we made is called Don't Call Me Bigfoot.
Okay,
Mhm.
nice.
We have a
And
variety of others that are similar.
all right, cool. Every time I walk in my dad's house, 5 houses down the street, him and his girlfriend are watching things about Bigfoot and aliens, and every time, almost, or it's Hallmark Channel, and my dad's crying. It's one or the other. My dad cries, she doesn't. And the last question, Rick Simpson. Do you know anything about the Rick Simpson oil? What do you think about
Absolutely.
this?
So
You
both of
like it?
those films that we made feature people who make that and use that their version of the Rick Simpson oil to
Okay.
treat cannabis. And I believe in it. I also kind of to explain what's going on. Like we don't really know how cannabis is treating cancer. It seems to be a roll of the dice. It works sometimes, sometimes it doesn't work. And with this
Mm-hmm.
in oil, the kind of treatment essentially is to ramp up to such a large dose that you're hoping your body is distributing this in enough quantity to wherever it needs to go that it counteracts the cancer that you're fighting or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you're fighting. It works for many other things too.
Sure. So, a lot of things are anecdotal, but you can't discard anecdotal. Have you actually met people, multiple people who've been healed from Rick Simpson oil?
Absolutely. In our films, there are numerous people featured that have
Oh,
the dream story of, we were told we were going to die essentially, and then cannabis
wow.
saved their lives. And so when you
Wow.
see the some of those are really profound. The first film, Cannabis versus Cancer, has a girl who had like a little spot on her face. It like ate her whole face away. She
Oh my
went
God.
through
Oh
all this terrible stuff. They literally told her she was gonna die, and she is still going strong, better than ever.
my God. Oh,
Yeah,
hold
that
on.
kind of stuff is powerful.
So sad. So sad what some people have to go through. But I know my mom made it through leukemia, maybe because she likes marijuana. I wipe my tears away. Okay. Next question before we kind of go off the rails or not. When you make films, there's sacrifice because you could be doing something else. You could be fornicating, you could be getting high. Some people get high and make films. I cannot do that. I've never been a functional. I'm a ha ha ha. I can't do it. But I do this radio show high sometimes. I'm not right now because it's daylight and that's my rule. You don't do that during the day. You do it after hours. But we all have our rules in life. I got a lot of rules. Now, things break, you lose things with filmmaking because there's always some type of cost, or you might drop something, or while you're traveling to the location, God forbid something might happen. My audio is messed up. There's two films. Maybe I broke it. Maybe the people in First Date movie broke it. Did you break it? I can't do anything because some of you guys are cops. Did Dylan break my from the airwaves? So now I wonder, what things have you sacrificed or lost to make all these films? I'm sure there's a long list.
Hmm. That's an interesting one. I'm pretty organized and I have the benefit of doing everything myself. So when I shoot a project, I I line up all the topics, I contact all the interviewees, I
Mhm.
go to their house with all my equipment, I do the lighting, I do the sound, I do the filming, I do the interview, and I have kind of a process by doing it, and I do so many of them. Our goal is to make 10 documentaries a year. And so
Mhm.
we have this kind of lower budget, quantity over uh, expense
Mhm.
attach attack at these films. And so in doing that, I've done a lot of interviews. There have been a few times where I have to kind of make things work, and usually redundancy is the thing that helps me. So if
Mhm.
I have multiple wires, if I have multiple power plugs, if I can kind of make some things work a different way because I'm able to kind of double things up or something like that. And I also have the forgiveness of I'm funding these projects. If they're successful, it's on me. If they're not successful, it's on me also. My co-producer Jason, he's a wild guy. He's willing to kind of shoot stuff that's totally wrong and edit everything that I've
Uh-huh.
done as to the best of his ability, no matter what I've done. And
Mm.
we make it work, and by kind of watching things on YouTube and through the process of what some of our films have been successful, uh, we've learned that the audience isn't always looking about the absolute best in production. They're kind of looking for whatever they can connect to. And as long as you can
Yeah.
hold their attention, then
Mhm.
that's going to make it work. And so it's about having the best content that you can have. And then everything else is kind of second.
That's why I look up to Neil Breen. I get so much. I've learned so much from him. No, I mean, I actually do. I'm just being silly. But yeah, no, I do. You know who Neil Breen is, right?
I don't.
Yeah, based on your facial expression. Oh my God, you have so much knowledge in your head, but you don't know about Neil Breen? You're
No.
welcome. And also, maybe I'm sorry. Check him out. A lot of filmmakers know about him. I know people, actually, I mentioned him. I'll just do a shout out. Rob Graydon, Josh Graydon, Jake Graydon. Thanks, guys. They make films locally in Long Island, New York, and all over. But they're a family that makes films together, and they're really talented. But the dad was telling me that they were having like a Neil Breen marathon recently where they watched the films, and they're really fun to watch as a group, especially if in the stoner community. Like,
Oh,
hello,
okay. Well,
brought me
I'm also
some of the
looking to
greatest joy.
learn, so I'll
Oh,
have to look that up.
Neil Breen, Neil Breen, I had some of the greatest time laughing on this TV behind me. Oh my God. Okay, back to you. All right, so aliens. What do you think? You think aliens exist?
I'll tell you what, I do. I do.
Yeah?
like I may be foolish, but I've interviewed a lot of these people and they have
Okay.
really good evidence. Like when I do some of the other topics, the evidence is kind of wishy-washy a lot of times. And you can kind of
Hmm.
feel that some of these people, they want to believe more so than they have like really compelling evidence. But the UFO community has like a lot of really redundant evidence where
Hmm.
some of it, like is from the past. It like really matches a lot of the stuff from now. There's all kinds of really interesting government redacted documents that get released.
Hmm.
there's there's a lot of stuff, and of course you have eyewitness and personal like testimonies, and that take it for what it's worth. But there's a lot of really interesting evidence from all different kinds of modalities and platforms. And I think that uh, that that it's for all of it to be not true would be, I mean, it's not impossible, but it would be a lot. And I think
Uh-huh.
some of it is probably true. And I don't,
Hmm.
I just did a documentary about a couple that did a book that think that these extraterrestrials are actually, they use the word intraterrestrial, meaning that they
Uh-huh.
live on Earth under the ground. And they have this kind of
Oh.
storyline where back when the big floods all happened, that a certain percentages of humans retreated underground, and they live underground since then, developed everything that they needed to develop underground, and that there's a whole race of people like 13-ish thousand years older than us
Hmm.
underground, and that all these things aren't coming from all these different places. And that's like a really feasible, in a lot of ways, feasible,
Hmm.
more so than like people are time traveling or people are like traveling from light years away. There's certain things that are like scientifically very difficult. Where in this way, maybe it's possible. There's like some really fascinating true stories about people living underground that seem unbelievable. And
Interesting.
you never know, right?
You ever talk to psychics about this? I mean, everyone can be psychic if you tune in. Like, I'm technically a trained psychic by some people that trained famous psychics. I've only done two mediumship readings, but I did describe someone's parents very specifically. So I know I can do that if I want. But we all have that power too, in different ways.
Uh-huh.
So I guess trained psychics. Have you ever
Sure.
talked to trained psychics about this?
So I've talked to both. So like, I don't know if you're familiar with mentalism,
Yes,
but
of
mental
course.
is basically fake psychics, right? And
Correct, correct.
so I have talked to people who believe that they have this ability, and I do think there is something there. I've
Mm,
talked to enough people. I don't know if it's 100% what people say, but I
mm-hmm,
think there's something there. Um,
mm.
Mentalism stuff makes you doubt everything that you've
Yeah.
ever. And so when they can kind of do these moments, like the mentalist did this thing to me when I was interviewing him, and I can, it's not a long story. I'll tell you it real quickly. So
Yeah,
he's like,
sure.
I'm in the middle of the interview with this guy, and he says to me, sometimes you'll do a trick for somebody, and it's not that impressive. Like I'll say, oh, is there somebody in your family with the letter J, like your dad, and his name is John,
Right.
and his name is John. And so I say to him, yeah. And I just kind of nod. I'm doing this interview. I'm not supposed to be talking. And then he kind of stops the interview and he's like, is your dad named John? And I say back to him, it is. And he's like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Like, not that impressive, but, there's
Yeah,
something. Now,
sure.
it would be more impressive if, like, what's your last name? Norrie? Is your mom's name Noreen? That's word
Ah,
for word what he said. And so
okay.
I'm like, okay, that is really bizarre because
Yes.
that's a really, really uncommon name. To go from the last name being the same as the first name, not often, really,
Yeah.
really uncommon. How did you do that? So now I stop the interview and I say, wait a minute, how'd you do that?
Yeah. And he
And
couldn't research you before? He didn't have your name
kind of blows it
beforehand?
off. So after the interview, I say to him, that blew
Yeah.
my mind. You know, you had to have looked that up before.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
looks at me straight in the face. I looked at him. I'm just kind of interested to see what he said. He looked like
Right.
he was honest. He says, "I swear to God, I didn't look it up before." And so then I'm like, okay. And he did another thing to me later on that was like weird too, where he did some other stuff that was like, okay, how do you not know these things? Like, you had to look me up. The only way it makes sense to me is that he lied and he did look me
Uh,
up,
right.
which isn't, some of their little tricks, you can do that. And like,
Sure.
one of the mentalists was very honest with me, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
there's 7 different things that you can do. And he kind of listed them all off very
Uh-huh.
specifically. And you can manipulate people a lot easier than we all give credit for. So I always say
Yes.
the psychic stuff, it's very interesting. Take it for, on the light side. If somebody tells you
Yeah, yeah.
you're gonna marry next year, you might not, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I will tell you this. I've had multiple people from even 10 years ago say, when you're 40, that's gonna happen. I just turned 40, and they said right around your birthday, September, all this stuff is happening. And multiple people, which I didn't pay like a lot of them. Like I don't go to psychics and pay. I can't tell you the last time I paid a psychic, but you know people, they come up to, I interview a lot of people, you meet people at parties and they're like, oh, I'm a psychic, blah, blah, blah. Or people get drunk and then things come out. I've had at least 7 people say I'm alien or half alien, but that's whatever. But the interesting part was 2 people from different states who never met each other said, yeah, you're part alien. It's from your dad's side, and started describing my dad and his dad. And like, yeah. And they're like, no, your mom's not. She's like normal. Like, you only have her around because of blah, blah, blah. And you're a clone of your dad. And he's a superhuman. He has these skills. And like, I mean, they've set records, these people. Like, there's records, there's weird things that have happened. So I
Oh,
don't know. Like, there's something a little supernatural about my dad and his dad. I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out. But anyway, actually, wow, we're at the end of the interview. Really quick, just like we're gonna do like the F Marry Kill. We can't really do that, on the radio, but we're gonna do it anyway. Wegovy, Ozempic, or a natural diet? Which
natural
one?
diet is the one I marry. Uh,
Okay,
Wegovy and Ozempic are like the same thing. Uh,
exactly.
so I guess I F Wegovy because it's like more
Yeah.
mild than Ozempic, I think.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then Ozempic I kill because
All right.
that's the most popular one.
All right, cool. So
I did
that's
a
one.
documentary about diet and nutrition, and we talk a little bit about that kind of stuff.
Well, I know 4 people that all coincidentally lost their gallbladder in the last year. Oops. Their gallbladder doesn't work, and they're all happen to be just coincidentally on Ozempic. So what? Excuse me? I mean, 2 in 1 week, I found out. Are you kidding? Oh, it has nothing to do with it. All right. Uh,
Well,
number
I'm
two.
gonna attack that
Sure.
topic. I need to be in touch with you. So,
Well, my dad's a dentist too, so I mean, whatever, but that's just one of my contacts, but he's my best friend. So when you're a doctor, dentist, and you're busy, you see a lot of the population. So you get to hear from people. Like during COVID, he heard all these people were sick, and he was sick, and he was like, I'm gonna die. I'm coughing up my lungs in January. I actually had Chinese contacts that I did a video, a PSA about the Ozempic, excuse me, about COVID, but it was called the Wuhan flu, if you remember, in
sure.
2020, in January 24th to 25th. And I went on Facebook and I said, hey, we're gonna, this happened, this happened. I was with Chinese, I was with a translator. I went to JFK. I was the only one who spoke English, and we did a PSA. No
Oh,
one cared. My dad was talking about it because he saw all these people sick, and he was sick, and my mom was in the hospital. But no one really gave it until March when it was official. But if I tell you, oh, it doesn't matter, some girl in
yeah.
Syosset, whatevs. But well, I get a lot of the info and from him. My dad, he actually hasn't heard much about gallbladder, or maybe he chose to ignore it. Maybe as something, maybe he's siding with the gallbladder people. No, I'm just kidding. But he has heard at least 5 people a couple months ago that all had cardiac issues after taking one of these semaglutide, and they were told it's from the drug. You need to get off. And my neighbor right across the street nearly dropped dead, was in a coma. And they say Ozempic is what he got like a bazillion booster shots. I don't know, six or more. And then, whatever. Then they say that the Ozempic, and he really can't function. I don't know if he's ever going to come back. That's a really sad story by someone who followed their doctor. They followed the science. He did what he was supposed to. And the guy's, he can't do anything. His life is ruined. So
I know.
I had to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The last one, we're way over time. Sorry, Mark Torres. We're gonna have to cut this down. Uh, F. Mary killed Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci, RFK or Trump.
Okay. I marry RFK,
Uh-huh.
and then I Trump and I kill Dr. Fauci, I guess.
All right. Ditto. And the last two, these are not an F Mary kill. This is just who would you rather who would you rather marry? Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton?
Oh God.
The great choices. Come on, what do you mean? Oh God, sound a little more enthusiastic. Bro, I'm
uh,
serving this on a platter. This is like
I guess
leaders of the
Hillary,
free world.
because at least if you marry Hillary, you can fool around.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I like that. And the last one, who would you rather be BFFs with? Alex Jones or RFK?
BFFs? Oh
Yeah.
man, I guess RFK. Yeah, that'd be more pull at this point.
Hi. You remember you're gonna have to talk on the phone a lot. You're gonna have to hear that voice a lot.
Ugh, yeah. Mm,
I mean, sorry.
yeah. Alex Jones is a good one, but I think I would rather have the direct line to the president.
Yeah. But Alex Jones probably has, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we're like 10 minutes over time. Thank you so much. That was very interesting. And the explanation for the Green Beret is I'm in the middle of making films, and making a film is being at war. And we're at war anyway. So get your Green Beret on, people. Don't get soft. Don't get soft. All right. And any final thoughts for the radio, humanity, anything on your mind you'd like to share?
Oh, no, no, no. I mean, I just appreciate all the support I can get from people out there. My website is theskyisland.com. The thing that's most helpful to filmmakers is ratings and reviews on either Amazon or on IMDb. And I just appreciate all the people trying to be positive and do the right things in their lives. So,
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your thoughts. And I'm actually, which I never do, well, rarely. I don't have to because I don't have to do research anymore. I'm going to check out some more of your podcasts and hear what you have to say and check out your films. Very
cool.
interesting stuff. Please keep going. I'm super interested. I love it.
Yeah,
And
you ever want to talk
yeah,
about something else? I'm an open book. I know I have a lot of different film topics. I'm happy to share what I've learned about anything.
yeah, feel free. Come back on in a couple months. Yeah, it'd be super fun. All right. Thanks a lot. I'll send this to you later. And now back to more It Came from the Radio. Back to you, Mark Torres.